All right, it's been a while since I've made a video, and I'm going to do a repair video on two really interesting clock radios put out by GE in the early 1980s. These are called the Great Awakening, and if you do a little bit of web searching, and there's not much information out there, what you're going to find is that these are actually some of the best GE or just best clock radios that were ever made from a quality as well as a functionality perspective. There is a fatal flaw though. The keypads go bad, and I'm going to take one of these apart and I'm going to show you how you can fix the keypad. So it doesn't matter if you have the 4880 or the 4885, the procedure is the same. The 4880 features an LED clock and does not have a tone control. The 4885 is fluorescent. It has a tone control, but they both have two wake alarms. The way that you adjust the display and set things up is the same, and the keypad is the same. Very, very nice units. They have large speakers in them. They have earphone jacks. And for starters, I'm going to show you. And what I've been doing is I buy these on eBay. I find them at thrift stores, and almost none of them work. And this is one that doesn't. So it's on right now. And when I hit these buttons, nothing is actuating. Okay? Nothing. I mean, what's supposed to happen is if I go to radio, this is supposed to turn the radio on and off. We have FM, AM. You put your channel in. Or let's say we want to set the time. We're going to set this to time. And then I could put in direct entry like 12:55. Nothing is working. Okay? This is one that is working. You'll see if I turn this on. We've got radio, and I'm going to go ahead and put a station on that actually is active in the area here. So here's one that works.
On wiper blades at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get premium blades.
Okay, so you'll see that all these functions are working. I can put the radio on. I can turn it off if I want AM. I've got AM. It has excellent sound quality for an AM radio. Okay, I'm going to turn it off. If I want to set the time or one of the alarms, let's just say right now I want it to be 8:30. I'm going to go 8:50, hit PM, hit enter. Now it says 8:50. Okay, I can turn the alarms off. This one though is dead. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to show you how to do a restoration. And to do the restoration, you're going to need copper plated nails. You can go with full copper nails if you want. You're going to spend a lot of money for copper. What I've found is that the copper plated works. And if you want to know why you don't want to use steel or aluminum or just other nails, it's because copper will solder. And you're going to see as we do the project that you need to be able to solder these in and then cut them. So I just got these on eBay because I couldn't find them at the hardware store, but they work fine. And I've got a couple packages, so I'm going to feed off of this open one. So you got copper nails. We're going to show you how to fix it. So be right back once we get this open. There are 6 screws that have to be removed. Straightforward. But before I open, I just wanted to show you that the instruction manual is actually on the back. Here's a few other specifics. And what's kind of nice is it even has an antenna. An external antenna can be hooked up. There's also a ground. So it's really designed to be able to pull in good reception. And I've had no problem picking up reception in my basement from Chicago, and I'm about 35 miles away. So we'll get this open. I'll be right back. Here's the inside of the 4880. You'll see this is where the keypad is. There's a lot of other electronics. The capacitors seem to hold up okay. The speaker, I just cleaned it, but you actually want to take the speaker off, blow the dust off, and then you can actually wash this whole thing. We're going to go ahead and take the speaker off and I'll wash it later. I took 2 of the screws off already, but usually there's a lot of hair, junk, and gunk because it just goes right in within the speaker grill. Okay, so the first step is to remove these 4 screws right here. I'm going to take this off. I'll be right back. That's going to remove the keypad. Here's the back of the keypad. And one thing you might notice is that there will be some rusty screws. Okay, some of them may or may not be rusty, but what the problem is, from what I've read and what I've kind of been able to find out, is there's a foam pad in here that acts like a sponge. And it just pulls humidity in from wherever. and that's what causes these contacts to stop working. Next step is to remove just these 4 screws. Be very careful of the ribbon cable because it might be fragile. We have it apart now, and what you'll find is there's a piece of foam in here. This thing is 30-some years old. It's very brittle, and if you even smell it, it just smells moldy. So depending on where this was kept, it gets somewhat moldy, or not moldy, but it just smells really bad, and it has no cushion left to it. And what happens is these are the actual buttons. They're not the normal type of switches you see. They're like little steel things, but at the between here are actual. There's like a little bit of there's like a nail, like a steel nail, and when you push down, it causes those to connect. And what happens is that's completely rusted below. As we take these apart, you'll be able to see. But we're going to go ahead and unsolder these, put these nails in, and then it's going to come to life. But right now, nothing on here is working. Also, you can disattach the wire there's a wire that goes onto the keypad, because you can always solder that on later. But go ahead and set this aside. We're going to replace that foam with something else. You really don't want to put springs in here. It's not really designed for that. And since it's such a unique type of switch situation, here's what I did. I think when I bought a video card or something electronic or a hard drive, I took a thick piece of this foam. It's like a plastic type foam. What I did is I put it over here and then get a Sharpie, put holes in, and then what you're going to do is get a drill and just drill through all of these holes so you remove a little bit of the foam. I have a couple of these templates already made up. Here's one right here, and even though you may not see it, there's a little bit of foam missing because I just took a drill and drilled through. This now is going to be our new cushioning template that's going to go in here, and it's going to work really well versus this spongy thing that has no life left, that also absorbed the moisture, which caused all the problems in here. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start unsoldering in a minute. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, the ribbon cable down here can be very sensitive, plus it's old. What I do is I get a vise and I actually just take some of that foam. What I do is I just attach this here because we're going to be soldering and unsoldering. I don't want to keep moving this back and forth or these may start breaking. So go ahead and find some way of affixing this. And then we're going to start doing some unsoldering and soldering. You'll also notice I turned it off too. I had it on earlier, but I did unplug it. So we'll get the soldering iron fired up. It started right here. I've got my resin core solder ready, and also have my nails, and I'm going to go get a pair of cutters as well. So we'll do one in just a moment here. Hold on. I don't have a stand to hold my phone, and I apologize, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. See this top one right here? We're going to unsolder the top part of it. Only one of them, and it's the actual, like the button part, So let's go ahead here and let's get this nice and hot. And usually when you get it hot enough, you can just push it right through. Be careful with it. I just pushed it through. Now, sorry for the shakiness. Now look at this. I'm going to bend it down, and you're going to see this nail, this little contact right here, is rusted. We're going to take that out, and we're going to put one of these copper nails in. We're going to solder it, and then we're going to cut it. So I'm going to unsolder this middle one, and I'm going to put this nail in. So just a moment. This is the one I just took out. It's probably not too visible, but it is actually rusted. And this is the new nail that I've put in. You want to move the head as close as you can to the edge. You want to be careful, so you just pull on this. Once it's tight, we're going to put solder on it. It now has been soldered. By the way, I've been told that Midwest we call it solder, or it's actually solder. going to try to do this with one hand. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go down here. Be careful not to break the board. Snip. And perfect. This contact, this pad now has been replaced with a copper one. And we're going to push this back, and we are going to solder that back in place. The switch has been soldered back in, and what you want to look for is make sure there's a little bit of a gap, because if these two are touching, then the button will be on continuously. So you might have to bend it, or you may have to solder this a little bit outside or away from the board. But this one right now is pushing in and is responding nicely. We're going to do it now for all of these. So you've got approximately 22 of them, okay? I'm going to do all 22, and I'll be back. Here's a little bit of a pro tip just to make it quicker. Unsolder a bunch of them in a row. That way you can just knock them all out. So I did that. Now I'm going to remove the pads or the touch points, and we'll put the brass plated nails in. And there we go. We're almost 25% done. Still got to get these tops soldered back in and get these cut, but that's one row. Okay, so the first row is complete on top, and I'm going to do a sanity check, and this is just a plug-in. Hopefully it works. It should be fine. Plug it in. Okay, we got the clock. This upper left button should be FM. Look at that. Okay, the rest of these are not in, but FM is working, and actually the FM light is on. Okay, AM is right below. That's not working, but look at this. 1, 3, 2, 2, 2. So what we're showing is that these are working, and then this is a different button, but these buttons are actually causing things to actuate. Okay, so we're going to do one more row. All right, the second row is done. We're going to do another sanity check. It's also important to make sure you double check your solder connections, make sure that they're not touching, and that the distance between the buttons and the nails are adequate so that there's space, because it's easy to get these things right on there so that they touch. We're going to plug it in. Okay, so the top button here gets the FM radio, but now we do the second row. Look at this. There's AM, and then now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then these other buttons are for like storing and doing presets. So you can see we're making good progress. We're going to do the next row. Okay, third row is done. Let's do another sanity check. Turn this on, and let's choose FM. And now the channel up button should be working, which is right here. Look at that. And the station which comes in is 95.9. Really clear. Okay, we're going to do the last row, and then the most important power off button right here. Okay, we're done. All of those have been put back on. I sanded them off, cleaned them off a little bit. You got to double check all your solder connections, because some of these connections actually use the transient non-connecting connector as a connector to get somewhere else. So it's almost like this ribbon cable is transpired into all these buttons. And so it's like, you know, if you have one thing wrong, well, a button may show a 9 when it should be a 1, or an enter is a channel up. Let's go ahead and try it, and that's what I've experienced in the past. Let's just see how I did this time. So we are plugged in. Let's give it FM, and then let's go up. You'll see it's going up. We can go down. Let's go to AM, and up, down. Let's turn it off, right there. Let's go to time set, which I believe is this one here. No, that's alarm. Okay, and let's just put in 556. Enter. There you go. So it's in. We're going to go ahead and put this back together. And as I said earlier, we're going to use the cellophane or like the styrofoam type spacer, and we'll see how this all works. It's been put back. I also cleaned this whole plate. I took all the buttons out, but if we go to FM, and then I can change channels. You can go to AM. AM has extremely good sound.
Always to donate 1 million pairs. We thought it would take 10 years. That's why Dave said.
Okay, so we're going back and forth. We're going to go to the time set, and let's just say it's 9. Let's clear it here. 9:23 p.m. Enter. Oh, that's radio. There we go. 9:23 p.m. Enter. There you go, and then that's the PM light. Let's go ahead and put it back together and check it out. I also did some deoxit on all the potentiometers, cleaned and blew this out, took the speaker, and then my way of cleaning speaker grills is you get a toothbrush, get warm water, and just clean the heck out of it. And look how clean all that looks now. So we'll put it back together, and then we'll give it a final test. If you ever have trouble getting the little knobs to stick, because these buttons are actually going on and they're falling right off, put a little piece of paper towel or Kleenex, then push it down, and it gives enough of pressure so that the button doesn't come off. Let's do a final walkthrough of the GE 4880 Great Awakening Clock Radio. This is the predecessor to the 4885, which has a tone control and has a blue fluorescent clock. So this unit has a completely digital clock and tuner for AM and FM. It's one of the only ones on the market that actually has an AM FM tuner in digital. It's got 2 wake alarms, snooze button, and really good sound quality. It has a 4-inch speaker. If we turn this over, we got some instructions on the back, and we also have an external antenna and a ground, an earphone, battery backup, and then also a thing called power failure tone. So where if you lose power, when the power comes on, the alarm goes off. So it's kind of I don't think it's really that useful of a feature, but I guess they thought it would take off. So looking at this, what we do is we have the selector on time. This is where we can select the time. So let's just say we want to change it to 2:45 a.m. Enter. And now it says 2:45 a.m. If we want PM, 2:45 p.m. Enter. Now it's 2:45 p.m. We want to set the alarm. We're going to go to wake 1. And let's just say we want to wake up at 7 o'clock a.m. 7 o'clock. Enter. And we can do wake 2. You got to put this up here. Let's just say it's 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock a.m. Okay, we're back to time, back to radio. Then there's also a sleep timer. So now we have everything set. Let's just say we want to turn this on, FM, and it may sound tinny here, but it's pretty good. AM.
With your Mayo Clinic radio.
So AM, FM, we got direct entry as well as tuning. We could also store stations. So let's say we store this as 1. So now if we're on FM, and I'm going to go back, I can hit recall 1, and it goes back to that station. You can only do 6 presets. They could be FM and AM. We can hit off. And then you can choose your alarm, whether you want alarm 1 or 2 or both. I will tell you that the foam, or the plastic foam versus the foam that it came with, which is 30-some years old, and actually it just smells almost moldy, seems to do a very good job. Not perfect, but keep in mind, you saw those switches when I was fixing this. It's a very poor design from a switch perspective. So sometimes they bounce a little, sometimes you got to press harder, but you know, for 35 years old, maybe more, I think it works pretty good. So that's your restoration on the keypad. You can get these, they're usually not all that cheap on eBay, but if you come across one that's broken, you can do it yourself. Just follow this as a guide. And these are 17 gauge copper plated nails. Remember, copper plated because copper will adhere to solder. If you use steel, aluminum, or painted nails, they might conduct electric, but they're not going to solder in place, so that's why you got to go with copper. Any questions? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Hope you found this repair restoration to be interesting. Take care.